G'day, citizens, and welcome to Stars and Leaks. Our guest today is AstroPub from, I guess he's from AstroPub, but he's actually Paul Shelley from the AstroPub. Yeah. He's an info runner with me on Info Runners. He's the bartender at the end of the universe, the space bartender. What's that saying you say? Do you want to say it yourself? You're a very pathetic person.
Hello, my name is Paul Bazooka01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. I'm also your professor on Galactic Historian, and do a lot of different things. I wear many hats.
Yes. So, we're also joined by Hader. How are you doing this week, mate? Hader? And
hey gamers. I forgot. I made a bad keybind on TeamSpeak, and I'm gonna fix that right now. But other than that, I'm doing. I've had no time this week to do jack shit.
Yeah. All right. I was gonna say, hey, do you want to tell us what you've been doing? But if you're setting up your keybind, we might give you.
I'm all good. I just have to change the toggle.
So do we want to talk about the news this week, or do you want to go into your stuff first?
We'll get into the stuff I actually the more focused stuff when we get to it, because it kind of just has to do with just talking about the week. It's been a whole 5 CIG days, full of marketing, full of content. So it's probably the best way to start. It's just to go to the community schedule and just talk about what came out this week. While I bring up the community schedule, you make filler talk.
Well, I was gonna say we can talk about a lot. There was a lot that happened in the last 24 hours. So we obviously had all the ship information about the Redeemer come out as well, and the stuff they've been working on. And I was actually kind of surprised how heavy it was, considering CitizenCon's right around the corner, but it was kind of slightly distractionary for the forum post that was dropped by Xylo with a bit of an information there, and it seemed to be like it was almost like they deliberately dropped it right on the back tail of the ship stuff, so we hoping that we would just totally miss it. But for those of you that haven't seen it, in Xylo's post, they've announced that they're going to be increasing the price of the Avenger and the 300i, and they've given some excuse about versatility and all this stuff, but it really looks like it because they can't fit the 100i in. They don't want it to be as cheap as the other starter ships, but they don't want it to be the same price as the 300i. So literally where it's going to sit is at $55, but why would you buy a 100i when for $5 more you can get a 300i, or you can get an Avenger at the same price?
Well, no, the 300 is $60 because it was originally $55. Now it's going to be $60, so it's $10 more. So
that's not what I've heard, but okay. Hader, do you want to talk about do you want to talk about the 100i price
in there? I'll
pull
the thing. Yeah.
Apparently,
pull up the actual thread. Yeah.
So you're saying it's what $50 for the 100?
Yeah. Okay, so I was sorry. I have a stream. I have the stream just to make sure all the audio is going through all right when I changed to keybinds. So I just heard so many echoes for a second, just blanked out. But basically, I was talking to the person who got me some prices last time. It seems like the price of the 100i starter pack is going to be $55 right in the place where the 300i used to be, and right where the Avenger Titan is going to be landing.
Yeah.
Odd, because I'm not sure myself. I know we were talking about this before to stream me and execute, and he was saying that no matter what, you're going to go for the Avenger. But in my opinion, until the 100i is kind of shown, there are going to be some advantages to the 100i versus the Avenger, or other than just pure looks.
Well,
you're also going to have that ship customization component, which is going to be set up similar to the 300i for the 100i. whether it be in first release or not.
The Avenger beats the 300i though on tech specs already though. So why would you actually get a ship that's less? They're they're very close.
Not really.
All right.
They're close, but the 315p is more efficient.
The 315p is, but the other ones
it has more fuel capacity, and it has more cargo space.
And the tractor beam.
But the base 300 is not as good as the.
That's what I meant. Yeah,
it's around the same.
Yeah, because they're only $5. Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, they're only $5. They're only $5 difference, but like between the Avenger Titan and the 315, because I'm assuming that the 315 is also going to get a price increase. It'll go from $60 to $65, so it'll end up being $10 more.
Yeah, and that also, it's probably the same thing for all the Avengers. They're all going to jump 5 as well. Look, like for me though, on paper, I actually thought way back when they actually concepted the 100i, it didn't make sense. There are 3 Origin chips under $100, and I think the most expensive one's $85. But correct me if I'm wrong. The 85X is like $85. Why do they need so many chips under? Like the 100i, it should have been a different manufacturer. We've got a couple of manufacturers, I believe, that we don't even have ships for that are starter ships. So
I mean, if you
quite understand its place.
That kind of goes under the fallacy that every ship needs an equal number. Every manufacturer needs an equal number of ships. They just had an idea to make the 100i, so they just said, screw it, we'll make the 100i. That's just how it is. Like, there's no real, like, oh, this manufacturer has no ships, let's throw some ships under there. I mean, even then, a lot of manufacturers behind the scenes are getting ships concepted just in case they want to fill out those holes. Like, for instance, the Misk Dart, they wanted to make a Misk Fighter, so they just said, let's work on a Misk Dart for a bit. They decided to abandon the idea. Then you also got that other Argo ship, which just never came out. You got ships like that all the time, which kind of peer out and then peer down. It's just stuff we may never see, and the 100i was just chosen to be one of the things we do see.
Right.
Yeah, it was originally pitched as one of the starter ships, because there was the starter ships that they had an idea for after the Mustang was the Dragonfly, the 100i, and there was like one other one that I couldn't remember the name of. It was the Reliant. Those are the three starter ideas that they had pitched for people to vote on. And they've made them all. They changed the Dragonfly from being what it was supposed to be, which was supposed to be something that had a quantum drive that was basically like the Dragonfly we have now, but like put a quantum drive on and you just shoot through space.
It was almost like a Iron Man jetpack type thing, is what I remember.
Yeah,
but maybe
it was basically an open topped spaceship with a rocket attached to it, and then the Reliant they actually released, and then now the 100i. So it's not like a planned thing, that kind of stuff. I'd like to see them do more starter packages, because I think most people's interactions with Star Citizen is going to be a starter package. But I was going to say, in general, with this whole change, it smacks less of we need to justify the 100i, and it might be that, but it just so happens to bump the price up of some of the most popular ships that people recommend to new starters by $5. So that's just a little bit more money. It seems like a justification just to get a tiny bit more money.
But also by the same token, you think if they'd put the 100i at $55 or even $45 with the other starters, why, rather than push ships up? And it literally becomes a legal thing, because if they reduce the price, they basically there would have been legal ramifications for them to have to give refunds to people, and that's the main problem. That's where it all kind of.
I mean, what legal ramifications?
Well, in some countries you can't people would be legally required to have a financial refund. You couldn't just say, for example, give them $5 in credits. They are legally entitled to a refund, and because of that, CIG don't want to give money back, so they've increased the price of the other ships to fit this one in. Because again, why would you buy a 100i when you could buy a 300i for only the same price or a few dollars more, as an example?
Wait, I still don't get it. It's just raising the price. I mean, you at the end of the day just still get a higher value ship, even if they didn't increase the refund value.
What he's saying is, he's saying that they couldn't reduce the price of the 100i. Because like the other option they could have done is they could have reduced the price of the 100i and the 100i starter packages to make it more in line with the other starter ships. But then the people who'd already purchased the 100i and the 100i starters would be $5 in the hole, because they're essentially selling something for less than they sold it, or than they originally sold it. And a lot of people, they might be entitled to, well, because of places like Australia, they can basically get a refund for whatever. Just because it ran out of batteries, they can return it and get a refund for it. There's really like almost no limit to the return policies of in places like Australia. It's not so like loose in places like Europe, but they also could probably do the same thing in Europe. So,
Okay.
One thing I did kind of forget to mention, but I could mention this later. We're going to be trying a new thing today that we haven't tried before. We're actually going to be taking audio questions from you guys. We're going to bring you into this channel. We've set up a queue system on Discord. If you jump into the green room, you'll be sorted into a queue by Horus, our moderator, and you'll be able to ask us a question live. So yeah, if you would like to do that, jump on the Discord and ask your question. You can still ask your question in chat by preferencing it with question, but we are going to be focusing more on audio-based questions today, just to test this out and see if it works with you guys. Yeah. Obviously, if there's anything bad that anyone does, you'll be quickly banned. So please be on your best behavior. Hater, you want to say?
Oh yeah, no, nothing really. I was
going to say, Hater's probably going to be the worst person behaved here. So if you're any worse behaved than Hater, then you're definitely going to be kicked. All right. So Hater, do you want to go on with the news you've got for this week, or updates, etc.?
I mean, I just want to talk about the week and then get into it's less.
Okay, well, let's go back. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, because I didn't get too much this week. I mean, one of the things was, I just said, $55. And I think we should just talk about the week, starting with just day one of Monday. You know, which we're probably going to take. Probably a good idea to talk less about the actual article. You guys to read the Alpha 310 postmortem posted on Monday.
No, I haven't chanced it.
No, been too busy.
Well, what do you? Then let's just talk about 310 and 311. Then
okay,
that's fun. In terms of just like a pure feature list, so we don't have to talk about Evocati, because it'll definitely change, and friggin' AstroPub and whatnot. So, was 310 a good patch for you guys? Do you feel whelmed?
Well, it depends what you define by good. So yeah, lackluster.
Did you feel whelmed?
Look, I like, for me personally, Star Citizen in general, over the last 12 months, I tend to look at the PTU patch, and then I log out, and I tend to really not even play it much in live at all with friends, and that's about it. There's just not enough gameplay there for me. So yeah, Paul, your thoughts?
I think that 310 was a step in a direction. I mean, there were good things that were added, like the money transaction thing where you can like send money to the people. A lot of people, now that it's in, a lot of people won't even know what it's in. Or even remember it. But I feel like a lot of the things were also bad. There was a lot of like, I get the argument that CIG doesn't want to change things because they're going to have to change in the future. But there was also a lot of changing for the changing sake, it seems like, and things like missions, because missions in 3.9, even though it was wasn't a great patch in terms of stability, the missions allowed for a lot of newer citizens to be able to make money faster with things like box missions, because you could gather tons and tons of box missions together, go deliver them, and it would still take some time, like an hour, but you could make something between 70 and 100,000 UEC in an hour by doing that, barring bugs and other issues. But they changed. But when 310 rolled around, they nerfed those into the ground, seemingly for no reason other than they don't want people to make money, which is a strange reason in my mind for a game which they even said they have a right to wipe things, and the economy's not set up yet. It just felt unnecessary. It felt like they added unnecessary complexity to something that they're going to have to change anyways when more missions come out. I don't understand the processing behind a lot of those decisions. And then this is a consistent thing that CIG does, where like they have a mission that people use, and then they realize that people are making a lot of money off of it, and then they nerf it in some way. Jumptown, for instance, is a good example of that. And this is just, and what was worse about this was that this was actually accessible by new players. Like you could do that in an Aurora and make enough money, which was great. I mean, because it meant that new players didn't feel like they were going to be caged in by grinding out small little missions for hours to be able to even get what they needed to. Now that there was the ability to make more money, but then they nerfed it, and then I think that killed a lot of my enthusiasm for the patch. The fact that it fixed some of the 30k issues, but it's still like I have more CTDs in 310 than I've had in previous patches, probably this year entirely. There's
do you
it just
think
seems like
that's...
310 took the wind out of my sails in many ways in terms of like enthusiasm for the game for the rest of the year. So
I was just going to ask, do you think that's got anything to do with us coming to the end of the limits with kind of like server meshing and iCache needing to come online?
Oh yeah, no, they've reached the peaks in terms of they can get iCache come in. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, look at what they're adding in 311. Like, there's nothing significant in terms of adding data, like more extra data to the servers, as far as I understand. There's a couple of guns. There's a lot of changes to like quality of life tweaks, but there's and they're adding bits to stations, but they're not. Those bits don't seem to be fully functional yet. So,
yeah. Well, you can get knocked back by a grenade though, so it makes it the best patch of the year.
Priorities, right? Hader, do you want to drag Overlord down here, and we'll get him to ask his question, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, sure. Uno momento, por favor. Hey, wait,
hey, Overlord. How you doing, man?
Hello.
How are you, man? What question do you have for us, buddy?
Okay, yeah. A couple months ago, I saw this really old Star Citizen video on automated ship security ship systems. Right. Let's say if someone was sneaking aboard the ship would detect them and take the defensive action and alert you, or something.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Talking about?
Yeah.
Sorry, have we seen it, or what's the question? I'm missing the question clearly.
Sorry. Have you heard anything about that? Because that actually got me really curious, and I searched a lot of places. I can't find any more information about it than just that video.
That video in particular is really old, if it's the one I'm thinking of. But Hader,
it was like a hologram with like a blue arrow.
Someone just in-ship defenses in general.
Yeah, go for it.
Like automated interior ship defenses, essentially.
Nothing automated per se, but the room system, or not the room system, but they've had some initial setup on like an actual locking mechanism. I think Pickles stumbled upon it at some point, in which if you wanted to, if there was a UI for it that actually worked, you could just like, ship door lock. It's like there's a functionality. You just say, hey, I want to lock these doors, and that's essentially it. There's no like interior turrets yet, or else we would have them at stations. All they got is the NPCs, the ability to lock some doors, and it's not too complex.
That's the video. It was the ship. The guy described that the ship basically locked the room the guy was in, or something.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
The intruder was in, essentially. That's pretty much it. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. I was going to say that the main changes, the main additions that they've done, they've talked about permission systems. They've talked about the room permission systems for ships. That was last year, I think, is when they talked about that. So, and they've talked about things like automated turrets for a long time. In fact, Kleischer's not supposed to have guards in it. It's supposed to have automated turrets. So there's a lot of like additions that they're moving toward that direction, but I wouldn't expect something like being able to set up a minigun and just mow people down as they're trying to get into your ship. It's more like, as you described, it's probably just like a lockdown, like to prevent people. But I'm sure they're also waiting for things like counter locking, so being able to hack locks and stuff like that to be able to get through the systems.
Yeah, there's a lot of gameplay with even if you just look at the systems we have already, you can see that there's a lot of gameplay to come, like security guards and all that, as you mentioned. Do you want to go on with the news, Hader, or do you want to take another question first?
Yeah, let's continue on. Tuesday, there was a narrative from a jump point months ago, so we'll just ignore that. Wednesday, countermeasures and missile talk. So, what do you think about actually just saying fuck you to all the flares, all the chaff, and just saying, hey, let's just remake it so they work on all missiles?
I think
That's fine.
It's fine. Is that dog meme? Is that dog meme with the dog in the house? That's no, right? Okay.
Let's be honest. Missiles are, for anybody who's played like kind of combat gameplay, especially every time you talk to anybody who is like a pro elite gamer, action kind of player who plays Star Citizen, will tell you the number one complaint for years, we're talking about going back to like 2015, has been missiles.
Yeah.
Because missiles are either totally broken and don't work or overpowered, and they've never been in between. Or rarely have been in between. So anything that gets them to that in-between status where they can be used as a decent weapon but are not the weapon of choice for everybody because you want to win is a win in my book. So they can get rid of the entire countermeasure system and invent a brand new one. That's fine. So
Well, like for me, anytime they do any balancing in this game, because it kind of goes with that whole thing, they do the easiest path of least resistance and move on. So 9 times out of 10, a really good example is when they brought out the Saber Raven and everyone was running around with EMPs. They let that sit for about a month and then they just nerfed them into the ground, and they've been there ever since. It's just nerf and move on. Because they just don't have the time, because they are basically just working on Squadron 42 with laser focus. And I see this as the same thing. People have just, they've never touched missiles because it's been too big to touch. Now it's a problem. They're going to nerf them into the ground and just move on and come back at another date when they actually get.
Well, I wouldn't say with laser focus. Well, actually,
you know what I'm trying to say though.
This,
yeah,
because I like to say the hot rumors that I can't confirm because I'm never going to get a chance to say them if I keep looking into it. This is going to be a low impact, quote unquote, leak. I'm still haven't confirmed jack about it, but I've heard down the grapevine that they're moving some devs off Squadron now. Like there is some stuff that's finished on Squadron, and they're saying, "Hey, let's throw them onto the one thing that actually makes us money." But that one's a very hot rumor. But I just wanted to give some people who are going to read into that too much some hope that yes, your PU will get some more work onto it.
Well, it's also important to remember that anytime CIG moves devs over, it's going to take for them time to integrate into the other teams. So it takes build-in time. So it could take a couple months. It could take a year. It depends on what their team they're part of. So
I also just want to say something real quick about our live questions. If you currently have the Discord flag of new, I do not think we are going to... I don't want to risk the questions with people who are new.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay, no, that's fair enough.
Yeah. If you are new and you've been removed from the list, that you know why. I don't want someone coming into the channel yelling fuck titty n-word and leaving.
Yeah.
I understand. So yeah, that's another reason to get someone in the Discord, I guess. Do we want to take another question real quick then, Hader? Do you want to grab
yeah. Okay. I want to I got 2 of them here. Horse sent me. One of them from Kepler 26C, because these are 2 very easy questions. Do you have any info from a CIG dev that you can't leak right now in order to not expose people working at CIG? I mean, yes, that's I mean, that's a no-brainer. There's some stuff that I like to wait on. Nothing explosive, though. It's just stuff that is very identifying. Yeah, a lot of it's just verification stuff. But then here's a second one, which is basically just going to be saying, hey, we'll answer this later because I want to talk about it in detail. Yesterday in Calling All Devs, they said the Redeemer was only in pre-production. A few months ago, you said it was maybe end of the year. Still possible in your opinion, or later 2021? That is something I want to talk about for quite at length a little later once we get to the just talking about the Redeemer news.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Grab another person from voice, and we'll do a voice one as well before we move on.
Yeah, we'll just wait for. I think Horse is managing the entire thing at this point because I feel like they've just automatically been thrown in here.
That's fine. Hey,
Next
Online,
we have
how you doing, man?
Online.
Oh, hello.
How you doing, bud?
Good.
What question do you have for us?
I had a question about the RSI balls. I think Paul might be able to answer that one.
Yeah, let me. I'll tackle this one. one. Okay. So,
he's a good ball handler. He's a good ball handler.
For those you don't know.
But my serious question is there any leaks in relation to lore that you guys have?
Yes, but no. I'm not talking about it. I can't talk about it. That's my example. Coming onto a show called SE Leaks, and I'm not going to talk about the leaks I know.
Well,
just how it happens.
Stuff. There's like some general stuff I feel like you can get away with, which I'm mentioning, like the 100 Eye and some other stuff we'll talk about later. Yeah. Was it just lore?
Nothing really lore based. Yeah. It's been a while actually.
There's always the only thing that like seems to be ramping up, which is kind of becoming more of a thing. I think you're gonna add in at the end of the year. It's not really Evo. I think it's more of a data mine thing. Is that Xeno threat thing that's always looming on the horizon? More and more work.
Yeah, that was
months ago.
Last year.
But
last year.
More stuff's popping in for it. Like I think they added recently ship liveries for the enemy ships and some additional files for it. I haven't looked too closely into it. Freaking Gong Yu has been doing a lot of the work on looking into that, which thank you, because I'm lazy and also I'm lazy. I was going to say something else.
All right, Online. Thank you for your question, mate.
Thank you for your time.
No worries, bud. All right, then. I guess we'll go on to other news items, Hater.
Okay. So now we're going to Thursday. Oh, boy. Because I feel like... Okay, so... let's talk about Thursday, which is ISC. What did you guys think of ISC this week?
I'm thinking Disco's looking more and more like the Doc Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. The hair's getting longer and longer, and great Scott. But seriously. What were your thoughts, Paul, on?
I still don't know what cargo decks are for.
I think it's again planned gameplay. I think it's going to be a location you go to. I think they will have AI moving through there. My hope is.
I mean, in 311. In
311, it's a place you visit like a social module. That's what it feels like to me.
There's no gameplay attached to it, which makes me sad.
Hey, if you watched the ISC episode, you saw there was a rental cabinet. Maybe you can rent your ships there. That's the gameplay.
Well,
who knows?
Well, like you would hope eventually you'd be able to see your ship out. Like if it's a really big ship, like your ship out the window, or if it's a smaller ship on the cargo deck, big filled up. That's what I would hope to see eventually. Paul, would you assume the same eventually, or?
Eventually, yeah. It's one of those things where it's again, I think one of those hints that that they need iCache running. They're running out of memory again to safely run the universe, so they need to have iCache running. So they're just grinding down to what they absolutely can do that won't add too much information to the universe, because they're completely bottlenecked by their pillars again.
Yeah. And that'll obviously being an internalized cargo deck, they can stream out the whole space station, space, and all that, and so therefore it lessens the load, so to speak. All right. Anything else, Hader?
Oh yes. So let's move on to the final day, the most jam-packed day. Let's talk about Friday, which is a 3-parter. Have you guys read Jump Point?
No.
I haven't finished it yet. I started.
It is a two-parter. Okay, so let's talk about the roadmap update. Just, what you guys think of one item being removed and then placed back with no real notification? Well, I mean, the place back had notification, but the removal. Do you think that's actually going to make 312?
What was removed, Tato? Just for context, so everyone knows.
It was I think it was like zero grab. Oh, it was like push and pull.
It was push pull. Object push pull.
Which is a fun feature. It's going to be. It's going to change some shit, but like, it's not like body dragging. They're actually going to play with that one, but do you guys think it's going to actually make 312? I'm seeing faces and I'm seeing them wave around.
There's no gameplay there. Like, so it's another stepping stone on the way in the journey, but it's just not substantial enough. And I always come back to that. And unless it's substantial, I kind of just go, good to know, good to see you make its progress, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's again one of those things where it could be tied up with other issues in the background as to why they're not able to do it. I think CIG is definitely banking heavily on that they get eye catch in by the end of the year, because if something like that's still in the roadmap, that they want to be able to do that. But we'll see. It's I would not bet the farm on it. I wouldn't bet the farm on anything in 312. Like, just about everything in 312, I think is shootable off into the next quarter or even beyond that, just because it's for those of you guys who don't know, who are new to Star Citizen, there is always we know when 312 is going to release. Unlike any other patch in the always the fourth quarter patch is going to be released the week before Christmas. At the very latest, it's the week before Christmas, because the week before Christmas is the last day that CIG is in the office. Then they take a 2-week vacation and come back in January. Yep. So it has to be out before they go on vacation. And I think maybe the last 2 years, it's been released on that day. So
I wouldn't call that a data set that's consistent.
It's only happened once that they've not done that. It's been pretty much every year since 2015. It's been like that. Like maybe they release it into PTU earlier, but like into live. Like, let me show you the 18th, Friday the 18th. I think would be the last day that they could do it.
It's been like 3 years. It's come on the 18th and the 21st. It's always within those two that date period from my memory.
Mm-hmm. It just has to do with office, because they take a 2-week break for holidays, and because it's always the crunched one at the very end of the year, it almost always gets stuff moved from it, because if in this case, if 311 goes late in terms of testing, in terms of release, then it eats into the PTU time, the testing time, all the time for 312, which is one of the reasons why I'm a little concerned about them doing a 311X patch, just so they can bring in the Star Runner, because it's like, won't that eat into the time of developing 312? I know it's a different team, but QA is shared between them.
Here's the thing about the 311X patch, because that was going to happen no matter what. I.e., that was they have to do 311X because they bring in the IE files during that time. Mm-hmm. We would have gotten we would have gotten a 3.11X no matter what. Yeah. I mean, thank God it's going to finally be on Microtech this year. I'm tired of Hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Blevin Hall is fun and all. My frames drop like shit on Hardcore. Microtech, I think I don't exactly know where they're doing it. But I know they wanted to be more open, but they might just fall back to the standard. Oh, there's going to be some cubes underground. Whoopee. Now they're full of ship displays. Of course, with ships all just displayed in there. Oh, speaking of ship displays, this is going to be like a bit of a side thing. But they already had some stuff set up for... the Cutlass variant of the of the Ship Showdown variant.
Mm-hmm.
I think a couple days ago. I think it was like a couple days before the end of the voting. I mean, I just wanted to mention that they're really bringing on those conspiracy theories about all of the voting has been lies, and all the skins already made. The Cutlass skin was the only one that's kind of been made. Everything else is just stone development.
Do you really
none
think
of them had tags?
Do you really think the skins are going to be any good? Considering, like, now this is personal preference, right? But I was not a big fan of the skins from last year.
No. The color palette shouldn't be as bad. It's
What, you don't like the stripper boot Cutlass?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, wasn't it? But I also think that the way they're put into your account is a bit weird. Why aren't they just a skin that you can apply in game? Like, I'm hoping that's what they are this year. They're just a skin that you can apply. I don't want it to be one that.
That's how the last ships are.
Yeah, but I think a little bit of it is weird. I think it's like it's probably a side grade or a bit conspiracy theory. But I've met people that have applied it and then they can't use their CCUs and they don't realize that they can't do that, and then so they have to melt off the CCU, melt it off and buy back a more expensive one. Yeah, probably they should just contact customer service. But
yeah, that seems like something less of a conspiracy, more just a bug. Because of how they did the skins last year, they literally just made them a separate ship, which isn't good.
That's how they've done skins in the past, but it would be nice to see if you could just actually apply them as a skin, because
it should be
skins are now in game. So I'm hoping this year that they're a skin.
Well, skins are not only now in game, but they're now actually designated as add-ons in the store. It should be different this year.
Yeah, hopefully so. All right. Anything else? You said there was a couple of things from that day. So is there anything else, or was that the last of it?
Sorry, I was drinking my jug of water with a core and an apple in it.
Sexy.
Happily. Okay, so basically, now we move on to the Redeemer. Unless you want to talk about the 100i a little more. Or do you want to...
we can take
100i price scheme a little more.
Do you want to take a question first before we go into that?
Yeah, sure.
From the chat. So grab Spaz.
I already grabbed some. I have some that I wanted to answer.
Okay.
We'll move on to the top one I have here when we talk about the 100i again, which is just price of increase of release ship is a one-off, or has Pandora's box been opened? We'll talk about that later. But okay, I wanted to answer this one because I made a ping about it on the server a couple days ago. What is the deal with the agent, and why does SC Refunds praise him as a god, or is he just Papa Derek? Do you guys know who the agent is? This might be just something only I know.
Yeah, only you know, man. I don't know that one at all.
Okay, so the agent is a participant in the Something Awful forums.
Right.
He likes to say he begins a post sometimes with hello, and then he talks about some stuff. And some people think he talks about leaks, internal leaks. I got a segment from his most recent one. I wasn't able to find the actual post because I hate Something Awful forums, and I was trying to scroll through it, and they want me to pay for an account. I mean, I don't even get why they're didn't. This is gonna be a side thing, but
you're getting on the side things.
Yeah. They got rid of low tax, but it doesn't matter. The constant thing about the agent has been, everything's dying internally. CIG has something called Squadron 42 First Strike / Prelude, and there is new dates, in-game cinematics done with an alternative engine, UE4 Blueprint / Sequencer, Lumberyard shit being changed, and cutscenes not being done yet. And because they're fucking up so bad, they have to use a different engine. It's stuff like that. Everything's dying inside. There's something called Squadron 42 Prelude, and they're using alternative engines. This is something this has been a theme with a lot of those leaks. So I mentioned that was all fake. A big thing he always has been pushing for years is something called Squadron 42 First Strike / Prelude. Never existed. I have seen developer builds on my own computer No hint. Doesn't exist. Could not have existed unless it was done by like 3 people at CIG and only on their computers, and then deleted off the face of the earth when they gave up on it. Couldn't have happened. But that's aside from the point. I wanted the agent isn't entirely always wrong, from what I found. He has someone he knows, and that's why he's seen as someone who might get things. That's why he's seen as trusted on Something Awful forums. I'm not sure if this is either the agent or 8ace. A lot of it's just been lost to time. There's like 15 Something Awful threads, and I can't find the first one where I can't find everything he's posted unless I buy Something Awful account for $10, which I'm not going to do. Basically, one of the Something Awful leakers leaked the entirety of a CitizenCon presentation. It was the one with the caterpillar. They're like, oh, we're going to talk about the caterpillar bit. It's going to be shown on ArcCorp. It was some really specific shit that couldn't have been from anything else. And unless that post was fake, because this was a post that was reposted on some other site, so it could have been fake. They have gotten things right in the past, which means that's why they are trusted. It's not because it's all fake and they're goons and they want to hate everything. There is a reason to trust them, and the reason's long gone. They haven't gotten the thing right in years. It's just I wanted to talk about the history of the agent because he's an interesting character. Yeah.
There's for those of you guys who don't know. For those of you guys who don't know, there was also a Kotaku UK was I would say did a very good article several years ago, and then decided to nuke their reputation into the ground by republishing it for clickbait. A couple days ago or a couple weeks ago. It was published like 3 or 4 years ago, where it was titled "The Troubled History of Star Citizen" or Cloud Imperium Games, something like that. And it talked about, it was a pretty good, well-researched article about what was going on inside CIG. And it had interviews from actual people who used to work for them, and then CIG's rebuttals and kind of explaining it, which seemed to have sussed out that CIG started growing. They were hiring anybody they could to fill roles because nobody knew how to use CryEngine. They were having a hard time finding CryEngine engineers, so they were picking people up who knew CryEngine, and these people started getting angry about something. It became disgruntled and started leaking information. And then CIG essentially found them out and then fired them all. So there was a lot of leaks well early on about things like the Gladius, for instance. I think it was either Gladius or the Saber that was leaked way beforehand, and so they went through and cleaned house and just fired a ton of people back in the day, and that's where a lot of those kind of goon links came from. And so he may have been part of that. They may have gotten the information from that kind of situation, but that again, long gone. You can actually look up the history of this by reading that article. Though I'm a little upset that Kotaku UK decided to just do it again because money, rather than actually updating the article.
Haven't they been closed down in several cities though now too? So that's probably why they are reposting articles.
Possibly.
They don't have enough people to keep content going. Yeah. All right, Hader, can you drag Spaz down, please, from the first person in line? And we'll do another audio question. Hey, Spaz, how you doing, man?
Hey, good, thank you.
What's your question, buddy?
Oh, cool. So my question is, in the last 2 quarters, CIG have become very cagey with details, dates, and communications overall. You know, we get 2 quarters now on the roadmap. Press has been more quiet than usual, and we had no pillar talk for 3.10. Do you guys have any insights on why this change has happened? Initially, I thought maybe it was COVID, but no pillar talk was a real worry for me personally.
I think they have a real problem with production values at CIG. I think we would have been quite happy with a pillow talk that was just 4 people on Skype, but I think that might be why we didn't get pillow talk, because they can't actually get to the studio to film it. And if you'll notice that they always film it in a studio. I think communication is definitely a lot harder for them this year than it has been previous, because they can't just walk up to the desk and talk to someone, so they have to call everyone and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely had a take on it. Paul, what are your thoughts on that one?
Generally speaking, from the people I've talked to at CIG who work at CIG, the number one thing that I've heard from them is that COVID really didn't change much in terms of their schedule. They're still doing fairly well. And even CIG has reiterated that, like in their own interviews, they've said that like COVID changed like some things, but in terms of their general flow, it hasn't changed much. But I also believe that this isn't something that has just happened this year. It's been going on for a longer time. For instance, on the lead up to last year's CitizenCon, we only saw Chris during the Pillar Talks, and even one of the Pillar Talks, he didn't even show up to it. It was just like two or three folks, like Sean Tracy, and then like one or two other people there, John Crew and Sean Tracy.
We've also got.
So
I was going to say, we've also got him coming out and posting on the forums the other week with.
Yes,
yeah, that was true.
He did post it on the forums, which is the first time he had been seen engaging in the Star System community for a year.
And then he went out of his way to answer one question as well. So,
well, he's been answering more questions.
Yep, I did find it kind of weird. It was one of the very first questions that was asked that made it to the top, which is that whole thing. When we've talked on info runners in the past, Paul, like when we talked about did that CIG blindside episode, that was one of the things we brought up. But that Spectrum just has this weird thing that like it's always one of the very first posts that get on there that they because people don't scroll down, so it's just always the first things are voted up. Hader, what are your thoughts on the lack of communication? Or is he asleep again? I don't think Hader's here. Hader.
Oh, he's talking. I can hear him talk.
Yeah, he's talking.
I'm back.
Right.
Okay. So basically, fucking what pisses me the hell off about that Chris Roberts post? Because like he said, sure, he's being more open, but he creates a Q&A thread. One question. What was that? Why did no one like think about that for 5 seconds about how outrageous it was to answer one question? And the worst part is he said it. Oh, I was to answer it over the weekend. He answers it at freaking 12 a.m. his time.
Probably when he's got first amount of free time
on Sunday. So basically, he answered it on Monday morning at his time. Why?
Yeah,
and why only the one question? Why did it take him so long to answer the one question?
People are pointing out in chat he did technically answer two questions, but yeah.
Oh yeah. He answered two questions. Sure. He what he did was just. I mean, the second question wasn't really a question. It was just saying, "Oh yeah, me and some buddies who are doing, by the way, excellent translation work. I like your stuff is pretty cool. I've taken a look at what they've done. It's like a nice little program you could download." Just look, ask Ganyu if you have issues with language stuff or you want to help with that. Basically, right? That was just acknowledgement. Hey, I've sent the translation work over to the CIG devs. We're already working with the translation people.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think he either mentioned that or didn't mention. I don't know. That's not that. That's apart from the point. I just think it's outrageous that only one question was answered in a Q&A thread after being gone for a year. He's answered. No, he's actually not even answered three questions because one of them was just a reply to like a disgruntled comment. He's answered two questions since he's come back, and then just vanished again. Like, where is he this week?
Hater. I'm gonna be a little bit of a CIG fanboy or a little bit of a CIG shill in defense, and say I'd rather have Chris answer one question and then receive feedback and learn how to improve it, and then come back later, than having us jump down his throat because he only answered one question. Yeah. I think it's better to sit there and go, okay, Chris, this is good. We like this. But please be more specific in terms of what you're trying to ask for questions so you don't get a thread of thousands of posts, half of which are just fluff posts about people sucking your dick. And, just have it moderated, have it planned. Molly is a fantastic community manager. She's like almost everyone is convinced that she was the one who brought in the AMA format for CIG. Freaking amazing concept. If she's not, whoever it is, good job. Just do an AMA. Just do an AMA and have it moderated by your moderators. Have the moderators go through and just delete all the fluff posts that don't matter about the questions. They're not questions. And then just be very specific about something. Like say, I'll answer a question about the physics grids, which is something that Chris has been working on apparently. He just needs to be more specific. And I think that you ever heard of like choice paralysis, where you have so many options that you just freeze because you can't choose? I think that's probably another.
I think it's more than that, though. To add to what you're saying, I also think it's that he's probably answered the same question 100 times. Like, I don't know about you, but I remember 10 for the chairman, and every second wanted to be the same damn question. I think he just got sick of answering the same thing over and over again, and it would be cool if there was some kind of FAQ resource where someone had put in every question that was ever asked, but yeah, it does not exist. But
that does exist.
Not to the level it needs to exist. And I'm talking about every single question that's ever been asked. You tell me where it is then, because I haven't seen it.
Or are you talking about by Chris Roberts, or just in general?
Basically, almost every question that's ever been asked of CIG, it probably needs to be catalogued and cross-referenced with searchable tags and stuff like that. And even then, people would be too lazy to even go and check it and make sure that they've been asked in the past. Yeah, but look, it is good to have him back. The other part of the coin that I'd also add is if the rumors are true that we are getting towards, the end of Squadron 42, he would be they'll be in a transitional phase from one to the other, and he would be needed for both games. So he'd be wrapping up Squadron 42, lots of finalization, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, and then also setting up new stuff for Star Citizen to move on. So he'd be quite busy as a higher up, and we also know he's not just a higher up, but he's also coding himself. So I think he would be quite busy. And also, we've got CitizenCon around the corner, so he'd be under a lot of pressure at this point in time. Specifically, and I can understand why he's answering them at 12 o'clock at night, because that's probably when he's about to go to bed. He probably sits down, reads a couple of posts, and just falls asleep. So yeah,
imagine Chris just on the bed, just typing on his phone furiously. that long ass post.
Yeah.
Crashing.
Chris doesn't know. I don't think Chris knows how to post a 2-sentence response. It's not in his nature.
Yeah, he's a very passionate man. I like that.
He's also a very wordy man. Have you ever seen any interviews with him? Someone will ask one question. You've interviewed him, didn't you?
I've interviewed him, man. He's very long. And you know how I'm a very to the point, precise person. He's. I'm going to say this, and you'll understand this. And this is not a jib at our friend, but he's worse than Algrid. He's really lengthy, compared to most people we know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Can we grab? I can't even pronounce that gentleman's name. Nazarus.
Naz. Yeah,
Naz is cool. Just call him Naz.
Naz.
That's his name in game.
How you doing, Naz? Can you hear us, mate?
Yep, I'm here.
What's your question, buddy?
I was wondering if we've heard anything about the Polaris since its debut. Will be like the Bengal and not be obtainable by normal means in the persistent universe. So has anyone heard anything about it since they've made the initial post about it?
I think.
Okay.
Well, yeah, okay. The big thing about the Polaris, right, in terms of actual development, after the Starlifter.
I meant Pegasus. I'm so sorry. I meant
the Pegasus. Oh, the ship that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so it still doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it. It just doesn't exist right now.
We had one concept of it back in 2013, 2014, and they've never even brought it up again. I think it's a dead ship.
The thing with the Pegasus,
best of lore.
Yeah, the thing with the Pegasus, right, is that it was meant to be a thing for, what is it? Squadron, right? Like, this isn't really a spoiler anymore because it's been retconned, but Graves, it was just the ship he was on. That was it. Like, you saw it in the background. It was cool. Big ship. Neat. Gone.
Yeah.
Unless something has happened in the background, because there's literally no evidence that's been worked on in the files. And the Pegasus is something big that you see flagged up. It's not something they're working on. It's not something they're going to be working on unless they only do the exterior, and that's it. There won't be a Pegasus interior.
That was my
100% guarantee that.
That was going to be my question for you, Hader, if you don't mind. When they first mentioned things like a lot of the big Vandal ships, like the Driller and the Kingship and stuff like that, they were just going to be exteriors. And then as we went into episode 2 and episode 3, they were going to work out the interiors. I'd assume that would be the same thing for, say, something like the Pegasus. If it did turn up in episode 1, it would just be the exterior and it would be in like a background shot, so it wouldn't really need to be high detail. Is that kind of what you're implying?
Yeah, I mean, that's like the most it'll ever be. They would have. Here's the thing. It's not like, oh, you're going to see the Pegasus come in. It's going to save the day. It's going to be all cool. No, the only ship that's supposed to be like that is the Retribution.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see some badass random ship. There is no real reason to do a full detail pass so it looks cool in a cinematic. Even the exterior might happen, but I still doubt it's going to happen.
I think the last one I remember seeing was a shot of the Retribution in a space dock, and that was like 3-4 years ago. Do you remember that at all, Paul?
Yeah,
yes, that was a leak. In fact, that was part of the infamous Disco leak. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Disco. Like, it's not Disco's fault.
Yeah.
Okay?
Jared Huckabee
leak.
Yeah, it's official. Jared Huckabee.
Yes. Sorry. He gets shit on it all the time, but it wasn't his fault. It was the fault of the security teams at CIG not password protecting and actually. But essentially, like, everything got leaked. It was like the main build. Like the development build of CIG was in that leak. So people got everything, all the files, all the stories. Like, that's when I say, like, I know Squadron 42's story inside and out, and I know because I've listened to all the audio files, it came from that leak.
Wait, I want to talk with you after the stream then, because there's some stuff that's changed, and I don't know. I haven't read over the Lando leak. I've just read over
time and a place, Hader. Time and a place.
Time and a place.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm gonna say the only reason why, and I don't even have it. It was just like, and I haven't explained it in the past, is that, like, I know somebody who has access to those files, and I was looking for something for the old files from 2.0, like the Tesla audio files, which you can't find in a clear format. So I was going to do some like alerts and stuff on my stream, and then the problem is the CIG doesn't actually label their their audio files. Well, we found them. But
you found them? Okay.
Yeah.
Message me if you need anything else.
The CIG doesn't label their audio files with like Tessa Mission 1. It's all number strings.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So they technically do, but we still. I've been trying to talk with Pickles and actually getting something built for that, because it's technically possible to do it.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's a translation thing where it gets translated into the numbers, and those numbers then get referenced by the game to pull it back out for these specific missions. But these files were just the numbers, and so the only way we could do it was go through the sizes, the file sizes. And so we went through the file sizes, and then we started hearing Squadron 42 leaks, and we can even hear Chris in the background. Like,
oh yeah, did you hear?
Like giving stage directions.
I fucking love those files. There are more. There are more of them.
It was one of those things where we saw that we were laughing a little bit because we're looking just for these other files, and eventually it just like by about like within an hour we had already found out about the twists in the campaign. I'm not going to spoil the campaign because I know some people will leak Star Citizen stuff all day long. The second you talk about leaking Squadron 42, anything, Squadron 42, you are going to get crucified. But and I'm not. This isn't meant as a leak. I'm just saying like that whole thing. This is a big tangent for saying that whole thing, including the Retribution, came from that leak. And in fact, since then they released lore posts to make sure that they even released it themselves, like after that, because they're like, well, this cat's out of the bag now. We got to talk about the Retribution. So So it's been that long since when was Star Marine? 2016, 2017. Yeah. It's been that long since we've seen any or heard anything about the Retribution. So,
all right, thank you, Naz, for that question. Do we want to talk about the Redeemer now?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I want to preface this. I want to preface the entire thing before we go to actual opinions on the show. Okay, so a couple of months ago, it was during around the same time I got the Rock stuff. So it was probably like late Q1. I was talking with one of my sources, and he said, "Oh, I was like showing him something or something or nothing. Hey, it was basically I showed him an image, and he told me, "Oh, is that from the Redeemer?" And I was like, "Oh, wait, what?" Because the Redeemer, it was a completely. I'm not gonna tell you what image it was, but it was something very detailed. It was a very detailed image. So, it kind of implied, at least in my mind, oh, this thing is in late art. Is this thing? Then I asked, oh, is this thing is the Redeemer in like development? And he said, yeah. And then I asked, how far was it? I was like, oh, pretty far. I jumped the gun hard, and I thought that meant gray box. Because high detail passes like that. In retrospect, knowing what position this dev was on, it makes sense why they would say pretty far, because it meant pretty far for them. In retrospect, I shouldn't have jumped the gun that hard, but yeah. In case you're wondering why I kept going, why the Redeemer's in pre-production, even though I said otherwise, it's because I'm wrong, and that's it. Like, I'm not gonna say, oh no, something changed internally. No, I was just wrong. Because I got like I saw several questions about people asking that. So I just want to say.
So what about you? What about you find out in the last 24 hours then? What like aesthetically from what you've seen? Tell me what your thoughts are on this ship actually, just from the look of it alone. What are your thoughts on that, Hater?
Oh, me? Oh, I hate it, and I hate it, and I hate it. The Redeemer is.
I like you, Hater. You agree with me on this.
The Redeemer is legitimately the worst Star Citizen ship. It doesn't fit in the lore. It doesn't make sense. The manufacturer it makes the least sense for is Aegis.
It's probably the one time I'm going to get ganged up on here, but
none of the propulsion system the Redeemer uses, if it hasn't changed, and it hasn't been retconned to hell, that those split wings are actually just both rocket engines, and there won't be some electrical system that arcs in between them to move the ship with the electrics on top. It doesn't make sense. Literally, no manufacturer, no alien manufacturer actually moves their ships like that. There's no like electrostatic moving ship other than the Redeemer. And what was their thought? Oh yeah, let's give it to a human manufacturer. That doesn't even work with aliens. What the hell?
I got a question then. As a layperson, I remember at PAX 2014 they actually said that they're a new style of engine. Could that actually cover it in lore then? The fact that that's something new that's never been invented before, and
they can fluff it however they like. The problem with making it Aegis, let me break down the problems with the Redeemer.
Yeah.
The Redeemer was built not to be a ship. It was built to win a competition.
Yep.
So the people who made the Redeemer were smart. They knew how to manipulate the community into voting for them. One, pick the best loved manufacturer in the verse. At the time was Aegis.
Yep.
Now it'd be arguably Anvil or like Crusader. I'd say Crusader's probably more loved now than Aegis
Agreed.
was. But it would be like picking a Crusader ship now. People would vote for it just because it says Crusader.
Yep.
Secondly, they made it a dropship gunship combo, and they gave it a coffee maker. There's a reason why CIG has been put a coffee maker in the 300i, because they knew it would sell ships. A appliance is selling ships. And
with a free set of
thirdly-
steak knives.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh wait, it's steak knives. I don't get steak knives with my 600i, so I'm gonna go with my 300i. You know, well,
And with the redeemer, you get a free set of bag of nuts. These nuts. Right. Sorry.
And they went for something that was interesting and unique in terms of like the engine design. They were trying to go for something crazy, so they knew that it was going to spark controversy. They was going to have fun with it. So it was built to win a competition. It wasn't really built to fit in the lore or within the design categories of Aegis. And the other problem with it is that Aegis lore, up until very recently, they didn't make ships. All of their ships were manufactured in the Meser era, and then they've been remaking them or been updating them, those same designs, because they were on the short shit list of manufacturers, because they were, you know, supporting genocide. And so people generally don't like that, but they realized pretty quickly that they needed the Aegis to exist because all of their ships, all the military ships are Aegis, so they needed to make parts and update them constantly. And then Aegis started to do a comeback a little bit in terms of lore. So it makes sense now that they've also started introducing ships which are newer, like the Saber, but at the time the Saber didn't exist. So there was a lot of issues like with that, and it feels like a lot of the stuff that they decided to issue that were new Aegis ships are in response to that the Redeemer won. And on top of all of that, Aegis doesn't do a lot of engine design. They're a military. It would be like Colt deciding to manufacture body armor. I don't know if they do or not, but most people know Colt from making guns. They don't necessarily make body armor. Like Aegis doesn't make engines. They make ships, but they make military ships. They don't deal with like experimental technology. That's something like you would see with RSI or with another thing. So in lore, there's a lot of like disconnects from when it came out. And the reason I don't like it is because it was the I think quantifiably worst choice out of all of the ones that were available on the next great starship. But a lot of people who are new don't even know what the hell that is.
Well,
so
quick question then along those lines, if you would allow me to interject. What about the boom slang? Because I would argue that is worse than the Redeemer.
The boom slang?
You remember the boom slang? The boom slang XR1 or whatever it was called. It was an Origin gunship explorer type thing. And I would argue like if you look at the styling of Origin now compared to back then, it didn't fit back then. It doesn't fit now.
It didn't. I agree, but I also look at things like the Brutus. I looked at things like the Scimitar, and both of those were better ideas. And
I really liked the Brutus.
Yeah, and CIG thought that those were good ideas too, because the Brutus became the what's the name of that fighter from Drake?
Buccaneer? Is that the one?
The Buccaneer. Yeah. It became that design. It got folded.
Yeah,
into the
scaled
Buccaneer,
a little bit. Yes, but yes.
Yeah, and the Scimitar became the Hammerhead.
Yes,
because it's literally it's almost the exact same lines as the Hammerhead. So we know that CIG also liked those designs, and several of those members of those teams ended up working for CIG. So it's not surprising that they ended up becoming, parts of the ships. And that goes back to my old discussion about how CIG was having issues with hiring people who knew what they were doing. That's why the Next Great Starship existed, was to hire. It was a hiring competition, so they could hire people who knew how to use that.
Yeah, scouting. What do you call that? Like American football, where they go out scouting, looking for talent. Yeah, it was a talent quest type.
Talent scout.
Yeah. Look. For me, I think a lot of things can be explained away with lore. For me, I think lore is more of a tool explaining gameplay. It's not really the first and foremost. In most games, lore or story is a tool. Gameplay and fun always seems to come first. So I think the engines are kind of fun, but I do agree with both of you on the fact that they are very unlike anything else. And I don't think it would have hurt them necessarily to change the engines. I think the ship itself, I really like the idea of a gunship. I think we need a couple of them, to be honest, not just one or two. But to me, it's kind of like a mini Hammerhead. I would have liked to have seen a bit stronger guns on it, though. I would have liked to have seen it being a bit more beefy. You know how you kind of see those Marines and Aliens with the smart guns. That's the type of cool factor I wanted. I wanted something that just had this really cool gun system on it that just, kind of took you out. But yeah, we'll see.
Here's the thing about the here's the thing, right? About the entire, or what you were saying earlier, but like the lore. It's not even like a lore thing, I feel.
Right.
Because sure, it's feasible, but just not consistent with other Aegis ships. It's not consistent with any ship in Star Citizen. Even the alien ships, I feel, just work together because CIG has gone with a blocky form for the human industrials or fighters. Obviously, take after fighters in real life. Then you got the luxury ships, which go with smoother finish or just like a kind of white design. And then you got the alien ships, which use some sort of either a naturalistic look, or you have this very, very noisy, like smooth, curvy pieces of object that somehow form together an engine and a cockpit to make a spaceship. But the Redeemer is just this little ugly duckling that doesn't do jack. And it doesn't do jack better than anything. Also, I want to rant on this a bit as well. Why is it a drop ship?
It's not anymore. It's not a drop ship. It's now a gun ship.
I meant even in like the back then.
Because that's in the competition. It was a gunship, dropship that they were looking for.
No. It was a gunship. They didn't say.
Yeah. They added it. I think to make it winnable
as part of the winnable. Like I said, the team who made, and I don't think the Redeemer itself, even the people who work on the Redeemer, I don't know how many of them still work for CIG. I don't think they do.
No, the person who created the Redeemer is now working on. I think
he's CG Project Red. He works at CG Project Red.
Oh yeah, and I also think the other guy works on. It was either. Correct me if I'm wrong. Everspace 2 or Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. It's one of the two.
One of those two. Yeah.
So probably the most famous person still working there is Elwyn something Jr. I can't remember his name. But I have a question for both of you. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to say I don't know about I know the team who worked on the Brutus also worked at CIG. I don't know how many of them still work there.
That's true.
I think I also want to. I just forgot a detail about earlier. Because I forgot this is quite the important factor. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning about explaining why I was wrong. There was one additional detail I forgot to mention, which was I know the exact day the Redeemer actually went back into pre-production.
Right.
And that was the day before the Nautilus presentation.
Wow.
It was decided to be still an Aegis ship. And that was the day that they said, okay, let's get this ship back into action, and it was decided to be Aegis one day before, because I think one of the concierge people who were there just told me, hey, I asked someone, and Redeemer's back in action as soon as it was like start. It was either yesterday or last week. He told me one of those two. It's been a while since I talked to that guy. That's not much of a leak. That's more of just a detail I heard, but it was with them.
Well, let me put this question to you guys then, since you're both kind of really against the engines. What would you?
I'm against the ship. I'm against the ship.
Well, I'll ask you the question then.
Its engines are worse, but its design itself is kind of
okay. So my question
horrible.
then, just let me ask the question, and then you can tell me if you don't want to answer it. But if with the Redeemer's engines, what would you replace them with? What type of engines or style, or do you think it would be more like a fixed wing craft, something more like akin to the Warden? Like what type of look are you guys looking for? For me personally, I wouldn't make it an Aegis ship. I would change the manufacturer. But yeah,
I'll tackle this. I think what it could be, which you could make it as. You could easily sculpt the engines and turn it from a Aegis ship into something like an RSI ship or something like because RSI is known for doing experimental tech, or you could have done it something like I'm trying to think of another manufacturer. It's the pointed nose, which is a little weird. Maybe Crusader, because you've got the pointed nose on the Starlifter, so you can kind of track those lines to make it a little bit flatter in the front. and then put the Starlifter engines on that thing, or the Star Runner engines on that thing, and kind of flare out the engines a little bit, so it kind of flares out rather than, because you want to keep that same design language of the flare out, but you don't want to have this big freaking V in the middle. So if you kept the flare out, it would still look beefy. It would look like a big ball in the middle, and then a tiny little neck in the front. It would still kind of look weird, because the design language of that ship is just odd. Because it's just like this office building with a little awning out and then the little butt. But like that would probably make it less. It would make me not hate it. It would make me go from not hating it to being nonplussed about it in terms of its design. But
I was just going to add to what you said with Crusader. I wouldn't recommend Crusader if the Ares and Ion were, the Ion and that were not a thing, because they don't really come across as a military manufacturer through lore. You correct me if I'm wrong, but they do lots of really large industrial ships. They're more like a Drake version of Misk, and what I mean by that is a cheaper version of Misk. In my opinion, I was quite surprised when the Ares came out, and I think, like you were suggesting, because Crusade is the flavor of the month and fighters sell and they're cheap, I think that's why they made the Ares come out at the end of last year. Hader, your thoughts on how you'd kind of fix the engines then, since you're so adamant about that being...
Okay, so give it some big fuck off wings, and that's it. Just make them fold in or something. I don't know. Also, remove those top little spherical things. They literally serve no purpose other than like the old. They're
meant to be some kind of special shield thing, aren't they?
Yeah, but you could just. But what special shield thing? Like, why does Aegis get the special shield thing? I thought that was already decided for like most of the aliens.
Oh, that ship was meant to be some kind of new designed ship that was like it's like kind of, as Paul was saying, like they were this old manufacturer that was kind of going out to pasture, and then they made a few new ships like the Reclaimer and the Redeemer, and they're starting to try and turn things around because of their bad press of the past. I think that explains away some of it, but as you kind of alluded to, a totally new engine design out of totally left field does seem a little bit unrealistic, but that's how they're choosing to explain it. All right, then. Do you want to... Anything else you want to say, Paul? Or... Nope.
No, he's right. Hader's talking. I don't know if you can hear him.
No, I cannot hear him.
I keep trying to unbind the button, but it keeps rebinding to M. Basically, you could give it just giant fuck off at... wait, what did you hear? What did... Can we...
Didn't hear anything,
Catch me up what you heard.
Okay, didn't hear anything.
He mentioned... I will say he mentioned... I'll go over it real quickly, Haters, just so he understands. Very synopsis. The engine... The shield pods don't make any sense. The engines, I think that's about it. He said the shield pods don't make a lot of sense because they serve no purpose.
I mean, I said give them giant fuck off wings as well. That's important.
And giant fuck off wings as well as, go ahead.
But here's the thing: the AX-114, the boom slang, is a better category. It's just better ship for this. It harkens back to those Redeemer Reclaimer feelings. But it's just an origin ship for some reason.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to vote for the boom slang, but I don't know if you remember back in the day, the website crashed, and every vote up until that point had been done the week beforehand. So they shouldn't have done it as a live vote. They should have done it, the week beforehand, and just collected it and announced it at the time, and just had the vote count disabled. That's how I would have done it. But yeah, the boom slang totally lost because they, halfway through the presentation of the Redeemer, the whole website crashed. So there were just no votes for the boom slang.
I'd also say that the boom slang didn't deserve to win. It didn't deserve to be there. It should have been the Brutus and the
Well, I'm talking about so here's the thing: the AX-114 was actually just is a CIG ship. Like, it's in the files. They just added it in there. Like, it's in every single developer build now. That's just how it is.
Well, to be fair, it was also in the game when the voting was happening.
Yes.
Wait,
they
really?
had that in there. Yes.
You
was
can
in
find
the hangar.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
I
can
didn't know
find
that.
you can
That's
find
cool.
you can find screenshots of the Boomslang and Redeemer next to each other in the hangar. In fact, I've used several of their photos in previous Redeemer videos. But yeah,
That's pretty
they were
cool.
in-game. Yeah, but how old were you back then? I can't remember. It was too long ago.
It was 2016.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
16
You would have been like 12 or something back then. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12. The perfect age to be a Redeemer fan.
Listen, I have no problem with anime aesthetics, and the Redeemer has massive anime aesthetics. Just give me a new manufacturer. Give me, Kiwasabi engine works and have them make a ship.
I don't even think it's anime aesthetics. I think it's more. I think it leans more into the Matrix.
Well, I mean, I would say it has anime aesthetics because of the engines themselves are very much more like anime styling in terms of like the transformation and then the aura of it. It's probably less like traditional anime and more like hardcore sci-fi anime, like things like Appleseed or like the Final Fantasy movie that was terrible that we also used to make the Prowler, but
that's another story. If anyone gets a chance, look up Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, and look for the ship. What's the name of it again, Paul? Do you remember the name? It's got a ghost something or
it's something like that.
But when you find it, you will know because I would say it's like 95% identical to the you know the name of it, don't you, Hader?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, are you implying that CIG is stealing designs of ships? Like, what are you talking about? I love the Venture. Oh wait, I meant to say the Vulture.
Yeah. So when
Copperhead.
That's it. Yeah. So look up the Copperhead and cross-reference with Final Fantasy and the Prowler and the Copperhead. Oh my god, they look so similar. So yeah. I do have a quick question from chat. Someone was asking if we've seen the June trailer. I think that's definitely going to be the movie of the year for most Star Citizen and sci-fi fans. So, Hader, have you seen the June trailer?
It looks like a movie. I don't know. I'm not. This is kind of like post-apocalyptic. Everything is kind of.
Here's a better question.
I think that's how I'm a big fan of Avenger.
Have you read the book, Hader?
Do I look like I can read?
Paul,
do you read? Can you read? Are you a product of the American education system?
No, personally,
it's a 50-50 swap.
I like reading short form science fiction rather than long term. I don't like getting into worlds. I don't like committing. I like to just I like my science fiction to be like a 30-page concept.
Like a one-night stand.
I read it. Yeah. I think about
a picture
it.
book.
Like, that's a cool
picture
idea.
book that your dad reads you.
No, I like science fiction compilations. They're nice.
Yeah, small short stories. Frank Herbert is also a dense writer like that. I read it, but you got to remember that it was written before Star Wars and before Star Trek. So we're talking about an era when you have Asimov and Heinlein, and Frank Herbert is in that kind of generation. I don't remember if he was writing at the same time. I think it was a little bit after that.
Yeah,
but his book Dune inspired Star Wars, which is one of the reasons. Like the Empire mentioned in Dune was the original inspiration for the Empire in Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Kessel Run and the spice mines of Kessel are inspired by Dune from
the spice
planet in Dune, Arrakis, and the spice of Arrakis. Like George Lucas was sneakily trying to put his story in the world of Dune. Basically what I'm trying to say is that Star Wars started off as a Dune fan fiction before fan fiction existed.
That's it.
So there's a lot of heavy like 60s and 70s references in terms of like psychedelics and crazy shit like that. And it's also done before a lot of these tropes were established. It helped establish a lot of these tropes. In many ways, it is like the what's it called? The Lord of the Rings for a lot of modern science fiction. I wouldn't say it is the Lord of the Rings. You could probably argue some things like have spaceship or Starship Troopers and
Actually, I would say,
you
I don't know if you've heard of the book, but The Princess of Mars, I would say that's
Yeah.
the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
of science fiction.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and that-
the John Carter series.
Yeah.
The
And the John-
that whole
John-
series of books. Yeah.
The problem with John Carter, the movie, was because they called it John Carter. They should have just called it The Princess of Mars.
Mars. Yeah.
Because a lot of people didn't know what it was. And it's not a great movie, but it's not a bad movie.
It was overly expensive. It was
Yes.
it was a good movie, but it was bad because you know how much money it cost to make it.
I don't know what you guys watched. That was just, I mean, when I watched that movie, it was like, oh, here's something I just don't care about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah.
I felt like it did a really, really shit job of trying to make, like, at least I found no interest in even caring about the main character. Like,
It was low quality.
Yeah.
But it was good schlock. It was a decent schlock. But knowing how much money it cost to make it, and looking at the acting talent, no shit on the acting talent. There's a lot of very good actors in that, but a lot of those actors, and again, this is not a shot at our British friends, are from the BBC. And
Yeah.
the one thing that you'll realize in the industry is that if you see BBC actors acting in an American movie, they're probably underpaid because the
Yeah.
BBC woefully underpays its actors. So so they jump at any chance to work for an American company, and so they usually negotiate lower. Sometimes it's not the case, but it's one of those things I've seen in a lot of like commentaries and discussions with British actors as they lament how low they're paid by the BBC.
There wasn't a lot of big name actors in it. William Dafoe's the only one I can think of that was really that's been in other
really
stuff.
the biggest name in the world right now. He's done a lot of smaller things recently.
He's been in other things since then though. Like so, he's in Aquaman, stuff like that. He does a lot of movies.
Yeah, but he was a voice actor.
Yeah, he was just a voice.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is there wasn't any really well-known actors through the entire movie. They were all kind of British TV actors, like the princess's father, the king. He was a British actor. I think the only person
the king
that was
and the general. The king and the general from the princess's side were both in Rome, the Rome series, which was filmed for HBO, which was originally also filmed with BBC. So,
I just realized that we have spent a good probably 7 minutes talking about
John Connor of Mars.
Yeah.
This is the way it is.
Move on. Let's bring a
move on
live
to
question
something.
on. Let's bring someone live.
Bring Robert in, please.
Yeah.
Hey, Robert.
Hello,
sorry
Robert.
for
Robert.
talking about Princess of Mars for too long. What's your question, buddy?
Hey, did
Robert.
one of you guys group and just leave it in there?
What?
Robert, what's up?
Hello?
Hey, Robert. How you
Oh, I'm sorry.
doing?
sorry.
Talking to your kids, right? It's all good, Robert. What's up?
Sorry, I was one of them left a floater. I was trying to figure out who it was.
Oh,
Okay.
Too much
So-
information, time and place, Robert. Right. Okay. Yeah. What's the question, Robert?
Okay, so I apologize.
It's all
We saw small introductions of the Idris and the proposed mission that could be completed once per account, and then it was
Right.
removed.
Yeah.
We saw the Idris and Javelin with the Invictus Fleet Week, and then it was removed. Seeing how they've sprinkled in these capital ships between 3.9 and 3.10, is there any additional information and or anecdotal evidence to support we would see these ships sooner than expected?
No.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing. I mean, it's going to be less of a thing that you want to hear. Like, you will not see the capital ships come in for, what day is today? It's Saturday. Yeah, 2 years. Or maybe a year and a half. I don't know. It's going to be a bit. It's going to be a hot minute. We'll probably get the Idris a good like a quarter, 2 quarters after Squadron. Yeah, and then we got to wait longer. You will not see a single. I do not believe they're going to call something a capital ship and throw it in. We're going to see ships approach the size of capital, like the freaking 890 jump, and it won't be called a capital. It's just gonna be it's big ship. It's gonna be bigger ship, and that's it. That's all you're gonna see. You're not gonna see that big boy freighter. You're gonna see at best, if you want like a combat kind of thing, the Hammerhead, the Odin. Those things are gonna come online before Squadron. I mean, those things are coming online before Squadron, but they will not do that giant thing that is a capital ship because they want to do it differently. The 890 jump is kind of like it was a bit of a test for it, but I wouldn't say it succeeded. It was just like, oh, let's put in this giant ship, which completely changes how things are going to work in game, which is theoretically what's going to happen when you add a capital ship, because those things are fucking beefy. You will not be able to kill with anything else, because I think you can theoretically blow up all ships in game with any ship. Technically, I mean, sure, you're not going to be able to blow up a 890 jump with an Aurora, but once you get to those combat ships, you're going to start having, like, you'll still be able to kill something big. You will not be able to kill an Idris without, or that's the plan, without putting in the effort. And they want to make sure that effort is both fun and there. Which is why you haven't seen a permanent inclusion of an Idris yet. Which, like, the combat missions that pop up. I mean, on the bright side, when it seems like they're adding more stuff to throw back in the Invictus guys. Like, you're just gonna have the entire capital ship tour again. It's not gonna be called the Invictus Fight Week, but they added all the AI pathing back in 3.11. That's yeah. So it's gonna probably come back for IE. Because why not? Because we got a bunch of capital ships. Let's have fun with it.
Just real quick, Alan Artiga, thank you for the super chat. Who says Redeemer best ship? I don't know.
He's wrong.
You're wrong.
I'm glad you paid. I'm glad you paid SC Leaks money, but you're wrong. You know. I will speak for SC Leaks, even though I'm not part of SC Leaks and whatsoever. Thanks for the money, but you're wrong.
I echo the same sentiment.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks. So maybe he likes it, maybe you don't. That's why there are different manufacturers. After all, I'll leave it at that. I own the Redeemer, so that tells you how I feel. So
yeah, you're a sad little boy. Okay, you've been ripped off, and you still deny.
Hey, what ship? What ships do you own again? Remind me.
Let me check my hanger.
You don't need to check your hanger. I know what's in your hanger. One ship.
I actually do not believe you're right.
You brought a second one, did you?
No, I have the freaking second ship. You know, from when you did the. I basically, when I gave away a ship, I also gave it away on a different account, so I can get the Merlin.
I see what you've done now.
It was free value. Like, why not? Why not? It was free. I wanted a Merlin. Crucify me for still giving away a ship, except getting a free Merlin out of it. But that's what I did.
All right.
But,
do we want to take another question?
Yeah. Let's take another live question because there's some people who've been Ash. And,
Ash has been there for a while.
Been waiting forever.
Yeah.
I think Craig's a little bit more recent.
Yeah, the other two have only just got there recently. Hey Ash, how you doing, man? What's your question, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, y'all talked about something big coming up with the Bengal potentially in one of your prior leak streams, and hadn't really heard anything else about that since. So, what was coming up with the Bengal?
Okay, so was that me who mentioned it or Pickles who mentioned it? Because I feel like I forget things all the time, and it was I think there was like sign of speculation that there was some stuff in the files leading to the fact that they were setting up stuff for the Bengal, mainly for it was like some camera stuff they set up in there, and that was in the build. But none of us really knew exactly what it was. It was just the implication that you're doing something with the Bengal soon, and that's what we mentioned.
Well, the Bengal
we didn't know exactly what it was going to be.
The Bengal is in Squadron 42, and if they are wrapping up Squadron 42, it could be as simple as that.
Well, yeah, but it was something. Usually, that stuff doesn't. The way it was in game, or at least when I was talking to Pickles about it, is that it didn't. It wouldn't have been in there if it was just for Squadron. There was a good enough reason to believe it was for something else other than Squadron. Like there was those camera angle. You see, I didn't know exactly what it was, so I think I'm gonna have to.
I'm gonna let you read that super.
Talk to someone else.
I'm gonna let you read that super chat.
His personal opinion is wrong. Redeemer's best ship. Thanks for another $4.99, which is gonna get burned into the ether. I'm gonna. What's the antithesis of the Redeemer?
Hey, I'm just happy that
buy a
someone's
Drake
on.
ship. Buy a Drake ship that pisses off Aegis fanboys.
Okay, your money is going to go into a giveaway for a Drake ship. I feel like that's what's your. Yeah,
I just love it how
Cutlass.
someone's backing me from the chat. That's great. I've got my it's us two versus you two. Like, yeah, gang up for me. Come on.
No,
The chat's got my back.
100%. There's a reason why the Redeemer won. It's a popular ship, and
Yeah.
people love the concept. And a gunship is popular. And I understand that I'm on the wrong side of the community on this one. But God damn it, I will die on this hill when it comes to the Redeemer. The Redeemer is a bad ship. Fight me.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think everyone's entitled to like what they like, and I actually, it's like cars. Like here in Australia, it's like Ford versus Holden. It's the same thing with Star Citizen ships. Like, we know, you and I both know Algrid, for example, loves his Origin ships, and I hate them to death. You know, so it's the same thing. And we know Osiris loves these Drake ships. You know, and him and Algrid butt heads all the time. So yeah,
well, there's a
like what you like.
There's a difference between liking what you like and a ship. Okay, so I feel like Origin not being good to some people is more just a preference thing that works in the content, in the freaking idea of the game, but everywhere else it doesn't work. The Redeemer doesn't work because it just is counter. Okay, so Cantor has decided the next giveaway for next month, it will be the Herald. Also, I'm going to bring in Ash again because I feel like... No, Ash, no! Damn it. We fucking sidelined him so hard there, and I feel bad.
I'm sorry about that.
Go back
Ash, if you jump back
go
into...
into like any VC, and I'll drag you back in here.
Yeah, Ash, jump back into the green room, and we'll drag you in again.
I will drag you in here kicking and screaming, unless you're just gone.
We'll give him a minute.
Where are you?
All right, Herald is better than Redeemer.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible at this. I apologize, Ash, because I'm not used to these live question formats. So
yeah.
You are. You do it yourself on your show. What are you talking about? I ask you questions all the time on your show in chat.
Yes, but you do it in chat rather than like in person.
Yeah, which reminds me, whenever we're finished with finishing up the live queue, we have a bunch of questions that we need to answer. I have them all sent by horse.
So Ash is in here now.
Oh, hey Ash. Okay, so your question was the bank, right?
Yes, that was it.
Okay, yeah. So DLDR for everyone I mentioned so far. Freaking, it was just some camera stuff set up for the Bengal. Other than that, I've heard nothing internally regarding it just popping up at some point. It's like, it's one of those. It's a ship for school. But it's important the full interior is done. That's all I can say in terms of like actual how done is it. It's important it's all done. Yeah. I mean, apart from that, no, nothing's really that big event. None of us were really sure about. It's just it's the reason we set it in a tease rather than like, oh, here's a bit of news and here's what it's going to be. If we knew exactly what it was, we would have mentioned it. And the fact that we haven't mentioned it means that either it just didn't happen or we just still don't know it. Yeah.
I'm feeling an idea that I'm going to talk to you after the stream about. Hey, we're going to do a competition between me and you. We'll talk about it after. I've got an idea. Does that answer your question, Ash? And thank you very much for it.
Yeah, I answered it just fine. You guys go back to talking about John Carter of Mars now.
Yes! This is now a John Carter of Mars stream.
Okay,
that's what this is.
Craig the Space Bomb, how you doing today?
What's up?
Hey, doing, Craig? What's your question, buddy?
Yeah. What do you guys think about CitizenCon this year? What do you guys think is going to happen?
I'll let Hater that. Do you want to answer that one, Hater, or do you want me to answer?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, here's all the information, all the new information I learned from last week, and now I'm done. Literally, whatever I said last week is what I will say today. Nothing new. Like no one's talking to me about it.
Yeah.
And I'm very annoyed. But we're getting close. If I had myself a build of a...
So do you want to reiterate what you heard then? Do you want to reiterate what you
sure, I'll reiterate it for the 15th time. We don't know what it is. I know it's going to be more than what they've let on. I know there's something being developed for it in terms of a demo. I do not know whether it will be a live or recorded format. I do know. The only thing I do know in terms of actual content is that they're planning on something with multi-crew, unless this was an idea that they pitched around 2 quarters ago, or it was around the time of the Theaters of War stream when I heard the specific details on the event. So I'm not sure if it's changed, but it was basically going to be something in which they did multi-crew shit. They were going to be on some big ship that was going to be straight to flyable, but I'm not sure about that either anymore. The ship was kind of implied to be the Odin, to be the straight to flyable ship. It was just some giant ship that would probably be like the biggest straight to flyable ship they've done so far.
And I think it, based on what we've seen with the leaks that we've shown you guys, it would be pretty warranted in my book that I'd be surprised if it wasn't the Odin. But that is speculation on our part, isn't it?
But I will note, I feel like I want to kind of stop one thing, because I was thinking about it the other day. I don't want to keep calling it Digital CitizenCon, because that would imply CitizenCon for the past couple of years has changed to be this 10-hour event that ends with a giant panel. It's still going to be kind of an event, but just think of it be like a 2-3 hour stream or just live event or video. It's going to be something that is just
it's going to be the COVID live stream.
It's going to flash in and out. I do not know whether or not they're going to just tease it outright and say, "Oh, here's when it's going to happen. Be ready," or it's just going to be boom. It's there.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be akin to the final presentation from CitizenCon and pretty much just that and nothing else. I don't think you're going to see any panels.
Well, there's going to be news. I do know there is some stuff that they want to cover.
Yeah, but you know how the last couple of years they've done panels and stuff? I don't think we'll see that this year. It's just going to be that kind of final presentation.
I believe we'll see a quote-unquote panel. It's just going to be like, here's the beginning of the demo, and then here's a second bit in which we talk about here's what we're doing for here's what we're doing for the rest of this year, and then here's a bit of next year, and then they're gonna move on to the rest of the demo, which shows Pyro's coming at the end of the year, and here's the Odin that you can fly in the next patch. Shit like that.
I still doubt it, but we'll see.
I'm starting to doubt it more and more when they still don't announce it. But I'm still rock solid on these dates because the amount of work that they've been showing in or in ISC has been lining up with what I've heard pretty well, which is it's actually exceeding what I've heard.
The main problem they've had, which was something they've even mentioned, is how to figure out how to transition between Pyro and Stanton, because they don't have server.
It's something they can do without server meshing, but I think they're going to call it server meshing when they implement it.
Paul, very, very simply, remember how you used to be able to load into the social module, or you could load into the
I get it. It's because you could do things like load into your hangar, drink booze bottle from the booze bar, get the drunk effect, and then immediately load into Arena Commander and into Arena Commander Free Flight, and you're still drunk. It's the mega map. I get that, but at the same time, the question is, do they want to put the effort into building the mega map in order to have put time and take away from the server meshing, just so that they could have a temporary solution? That's the question. Is it worth the and I'm going to say the big word that everyone's afraid of, tech debt that would be accrued just for a publicity boost?
But there's not a lot of tech debt.
It is going to be worth it for CI. Trust me.
It's tech debt.
They were weighing when it happens. Oh yeah, no, it's going to be shitty.
I know what you're saying, but it's not really. It's not really tech debt though, Paul, because it's literally just loading from one thing to another.
It's tech. It is tech debt. It will be thrown out like a fucking used condom. It's going to be useless after a bit.
I get what you're trying to say. Execute. It's not going to be something that's going to be built upon. So it's not something. It's something that they're throwing away. So it's not something that's not really tech debt in that sense.
Well, it's kind of useful in a way because it's going to help with server transition a bit. Like basically, you save the position of everyone inside the ship. Okay, cool. Now you move on to the next loading area, which is the jump gate, and then now you move into the next one. You have to, of course, figure out, where's this person on the ship, and what happens if someone leaves the ship? What happens if someone new enters the ship some fucking how?
I'm I'm not talking about jump points. I'm just talking about pyro. I actually think you can transition between the two with just different loading. I don't think they're going to do the jump point. I think they will do pyro, but I don't think they'll do the jump point. And that's why it's not very. That's not very.
If they don't do the jump point, if they don't do the jump point, they can just load it into two separate places.
That's what I mean.
At the same time, I also think that that's also a waste of time. Because essentially what you're doing is loading two separate maps, so you're splitting the community up of 30,000 people into probably less. So the only people who would load into pyro is, ooh, look, shiny pyro. I get shot by another player because it's PvP free. Cool, I'm gone. I'm gonna go hang out in PvE. And so then all the PvP players will hang out on pyro, and then they'll do the problem where the only people who are in pyro are PvP players. There's no point to go to pyro because you have to load into pyro, so you can't trade with pyro.
but you're only going to get 50.
It's just a playground. It's just a shooting play.
But it's a different server,
giant
though.
arena commander map.
Yeah, but it's a
giant arena commander map.
But it's a different server, so you're only ever going to have 50 people in one server anyway. So you're only going to get 50 people in pyro when you're there.
Here's the other thing: pyro is going to have some materials in it. It's gonna. If they want to make it worth it, that is the goal. They want to make it worth it to say, "Hey, I want to go to pyro today, despite the risks." Also, there's some stuff with the some AI encounters that are special to pyro, and there are reasons to go to pyro. There is a reason they are developing all these homesteads.
No, for sure. There's a reason. The problem is that if you don't connect it with Stanton, then a lot of those reasons go out the window. If it's just a separate instance where you have to load into different servers, then you're just going to end up having the people who play on pyro and the people who play on Stanton without any cross connection. At least things like Tarkov that does stuff like that. At least you have a stable thing where you can load in all your character stuff. Like all your gear is loaded in one location. So if you're jumping maps, you still have that gear. You won't be able to buy a load of ore in pyro, log out, log back into Stanton, and go sell it, because it doesn't work like that. You'll be stuck in pyro. That ship will be stuck in pyro.
Okay,
until you have those transitions. Sorry, that's a completely different discussion that I'm still fairly adamant. I'm still fairly adamant you're wrong, but we'll see.
Okay, I'm gonna line in last guest in the live queue for today.
Yep.
Ironstone GR. Hello, how you doing?
Hi. So my question is CIG ever going to add contracts in cargo? I mean, why in 1,000 years from now we buy stuff at random quantities and try to sell these things across the universe? It just doesn't make sense.
Talking about like
missions.
Like missions.
Yeah.
No, that stuff is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be next quarter. They're working on it. They literally talk about working on it. There is some stuff for it already in the files and whatnot, but it's just not ready yet.
That's what the cargo deck is for.
Yeah, we would have gotten it first iteration if they had it done.
It's coming in the future. So it's coming in the future, but after the cargo deck.
Yeah,
probably.
All right.
Done. Well, I wouldn't say probably. It's going to happen no matter what.
Yes, it will come. It will come in at some point. It will come in at
within the next 10 years.
After the car. It will come out after the cargo deck is released and before the heat death of the universe. That's the answer.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No problem.
Just look forward to it like everything else in this. Once they actually implementing gameplay.
It's not a secret either, because CIG has also talked about it extensively in terms of it's in every Chris Roberts game that's since Privateer and Wing Commander, or Privateer and Freelancer both had that, where you take a contract to buy take these goods to from this place to another place. That is a staple space game thing, and it's a staple Chris Roberts space game thing. So it's going to happen.
John Crew kind of mentioned that today though too in the Calling All Devs. He kind of mentioned that they eventually want to get to the point where you can have order and get the bigger crates, and we've heard them talk about that so many times now. So instead of just getting lots of little 1 SCU crates, eventually you might get a crate that's 100 SCU, and etc. And so you'll have random size cargo crates. Once that stuff comes online, it'll change the game for sure. Hato, do we want to do some questions from the live chat?
I have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of them set up. Okay, so we're just going to go top to bottom what I got.
Right.
I'm also just going to skip over, just to mention I read them. A bunch of SickCon stuff from Adtourist Sick 89, Gout Slayer, a couple others. but not in this list I have. Yeah, no, Sikon, we already discussed that. Odin, concept reveal on October for your birthday from Adulting My Best. Maybe. Who knows?
We'll see.
Are you feeling it? You gotta wish really hard on those candles, man. And my plans, or my questions, is when geomorphology be implemented. And what are the plans for?
They're quick definitions, but
for furthering mining gameplay, T3 tonic, which
so geomorphology as something that I have light experience with because I took a couple classes in geology in college. So this is something that's like about 10 years ago, maybe I had a class on this, but I remember it. Geomorphology is I looked it up in Google so I can make sure it's the study of physical features of the surface of the Earth and their relationship to geographical structures. So being able to take a look at, say, a specific hill, or looking at the striation patterns on a certain rock face, know when those things were laid down, which would then lead you to there's coal here, because this looks like there was a marsh here at some point, which means there could be some coal impacts, or to register, be able to scan for oil, or in this case, and what we do today is we do a lot of ground penetrating radar to see if we can find oil. We look for telltale signs in specific rock formations and types to be able to find that. And a lot of geology done today is done with mineral companies because they're trying to look for specific minerals, and so they hire geologists to map an area. So the answer to that is probably never, in my opinion. Just because the way that CIG doesn't seem to want to do deep bore gameplay for mining. It seems to be surface mining and maybe caves.
Yeah, they probably just want it to be so, you see the mineral deposits on the surface, and you just kind of get it from the area. That's you're not probably going to go underneath the ground and drill and say, what's here? You're just going to have to go there, look at all the deposits and say, that's what's there. That's what's there. Neat. Now we know what's here.
Mm-hmm.
CIG, in terms of when that's happening, CIG mentioned it themselves, that they want to expand this mineral game, or not CIG, Chris Roberts mentioned it, that when iCache comes online, they want to have it so these locations in the universe have consistent materials, and those consistent materials can be drained or replenished during certain times. So you find them during certain times and you save them and you can go back to that location, they'll still be there.
You'd still hope though that they add some added gameplay to mining as an example down the line. So I'd actually hope that they do add some of that bore gameplay. And I think a lot of people, just to give an example, the Prospector, a lot of people brought into the Prospector based on, that image of it sitting there boring straight down, where the arm turns and shoots down.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely going to get some sort of boring...
Hello?
Sorry.
Hello?
I got a message. We're gonna definitely
time and place,
some sort of... Shut up, man. Okay. We're definitely gonna get some sort of boring gameplay. Actual or boring variety of mining. They want to up the varieties of mining, or else you're not going to have ships like the Orion make any fucking sense. Because you got these giant. You either need some giant fuck off rocks, or you need to there's an actual ground that you have to mine that doesn't really do anything visually. It's just big enough.
The Orion is not designed to be landing on planets.
No.
Nothing is a space miner.
It'll just crack asteroids and break them down.
They want to do other big fuck off big fuck off mining ships with big fuck off mining lasers. The Orion, there still needs to be bigger asteroids if you think about that. Then there's a bunch of bigger. We need bigger, and CIG wants to do bigger, and some of that's just going to require, hey, it's too boring now. Hopefully it's not boring. Fuck. Okay, let's move on to other question. Because question. Any update on the Titan suit? Supposed to be just. Okay, even if I didn't know this bit of Squadron, I'm just gonna mention it anyways. Yeah, there's a segment in Squadron. That's why it's being developed for that.
It was on the Squadron roadmap first. It makes sense that it's in Squadron.
Yeah, but like, you know, you actually fucking pilot the thing. There's some enemies that can have them. Duh.
Yeah.
So it's going to be developed for Squadron. I do not think it will be released before it. It's like a cool
situation.
Yeah. Players hand. Okay, so another question from Mike. Players hand pressing buttons, etc. Does the team think players' hands should be visible on screen during the interactions? Are we happy with inner thought as it is? It's probably okay. So here's the thing: the giant press button inner thought thing is going to be probably developed. If you have the Gladius, it's going to be for that first, because CIG is already prepping some of that stuff. You can see in the most recent build that CIG has put in a bunch of the HUD functions, a bunch of the hotkey functions in the Gladius as buttons.
Actually, they actually mentioned that the first ship to have that's going to be the 100i. They mentioned that in Star System Live like a week.
Oh well, then then it's going to be both of them at once, and technically probably the 100i had it first, but you know it's not in game, so it doesn't count. So Gladius wins as always. But we'll move on from that because it requires more wiki stuff, and Paul can't go too deep on it. Any new gameplay leaks in terms of like actual internal stuff? No, or I've not heard anything.
You can always leave if you want. I'm not going to talk about it. That's all.
Yeah, no.
Can I just read this question? Really... Can I just read this question from chat? It says, "Why is Sir Piggles so ugly?" I don't know. Can you answer that question, Horace? Why is Sir Piggles so ugly? Don't know. No one knows. It's a mystery.
I mean,
anyway,
have you seen Pickles in real life?
I have no idea who that is.
Sir Piggles is the other guy. He's the other guy here with us, and his icon is literally a blue pig. So yeah, kind of tells you everything.
He comes on every.
I resent that.
Oh. He has host privileges.
Yeah, so he just jumped in the chat and then left. I was doing it because he was picking on Horus. That's why I said that.
Okay. Let's get some more questions. What's the internal difference between a Hercules C2 and M2? C2 is the priority right now, and I don't think they've really collaborated on the M2 to the point to the point.
I don't think there's much internal difference. It really comes down to armor and the gun loadout.
It depends on how many missiles are inside.
If you go back and look at how armor works, though, they actually kind of talked about it back on a Starfarer post probably almost 2 years ago now. They fundamentally look exactly the same. It's just a texture change in the armor. But when they put the stats in, armor weighs more. So when you take off from a planet, it is harder for a ship with more armor to get off the planet. So technically, if they're fully laden, they won't get off the planet without assistance. So that's the main difference you'll see between, say, something like a C2 and an M2 is the M2 is going to probably go down to the planet totally fine, but it may struggle if it's full to get off the planet. Same thing as the Starfarer. It's exactly the same thing. There was a super chat too as well, Hader.
Yeah, Ryan is King from Cantor Gaming.
More lies. Again, you're wrong. You're wrong, but we'll move on. We'll take your money and spend it on Drake ships, apparently, because that's what you like us to do. But all right. I hate Origin. Sorry, I can't stand it.
Speaking of that, we also got it's been a minute, but we got a Prime sub from Evie's Place. Thank you for that. Now, we're going to move on to like the final couple questions before moving on to the Patreon questions, which I'm just... I'll talk about that when that comes. Cool. I got 3 questions already here, so you can stop asking questions. Yeah.
Give us the rapid fire.
Hungry fellows. So, which one will come first, the Odin or the GN trade ship? Odin. I mean, like, what do you guys think should come first? Some giant, some medium-sized alien trading ship, or some gunboat kind of thing? It's basically a hammerhead, except it's RSI.
All right, Paul, I'll let you take this one first.
If the Odin does exist in the way that has been described, I would still just say the Xi'an transport. It makes a little bit more sense. We've got gameplay for it. I mean, yeah, we technically have gameplay for combat, but I'll tell you 2 things. For gameplay, the Xi'an transport. For sales and money, the Odin, because
Yeah.
big ships have higher price tags, and people like big. You tell someone that they're going to have a big frigate of some kind or a corvette of some kind that they're going to be able to use. You say the word anything around even similar to capital ship, people's wallets open up and money flies out. That's what happens. But a transport, people aren't going to go gaga for transports.
So I'll answer it this way. If you've got CitizenCon around the corner. CitizenCon last year, they talked about the Cyan cargo ship and they talked about the refinery ship. We have refinery decks for the next patch after this one, the 312. I think the refinery ship at CitizenCon is a no-brainer, and I think that they'll probably do the Cyan cargo ship there as well. I wouldn't be surprised if all of those ships that were mentioned come at CitizenCon, because we also know they tend to do ships at different price points. So,
here's the thing: it's not CitizenCon.
Oh, I know you don't want to call it CitizenCon. I know you don't want to call it CitizenCon. I'm just call it that for ease of reference, because people know what you're talking about. At that time period, that's when I'm expecting those ships to go to appear.
Well, I think if they're going to pose a giant ship sale but have like a smaller event for it, pose at the IE. That's literally just a month later.
Yeah. So okay, I'll extend it to that. So it's either going to be at CitizenCon or at the anniversary sale. Yes, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And we have precedents for that too, because we got the Pioneer 1 year, and then at the anniversary sale, I think we got the Hammerhead, something of that nature. Anyway, so we got two big ships, almost one after the other.
We got them all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so also Cantor says with another super chat, check your eyes, execute. I put Orion, not Origin.
Oh, okay. I can stress less. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank God. I read that completely wrong. Sorry, I am a bit sleep deprived. It is 4:20 in the morning, and I haven't slept. I've been up since 6 a.m. So
well, good thing it's 4:20 in the morning, because he donated $4.20.
Yeah, cool.
There we go.
It's a conspiracy. It's massive. I don't know. Are there going to be more ships made by the government and not companies? UE developing the Retribution, for example, by Storm Zero Alpha.
Can I answer this one, because this is a lore thing?
Yeah, you would know.
So, and I actually answered him in chat as well. But here's the deal. All in lore, all ships are made by companies, not by, just like today. The U.S. government doesn't make the Abrams tank. They just ask for designs for the Abrams tanks and then hire somebody to make it for them. So they might design something, like the Retribution was, I'm sure, was designed with the help of some companies, but was designed around the UEE specifically. But the Retribution itself is made by several companies, including RSI.
Yeah, it's like a very RSI centric, right? In terms of like. Yeah.
It uses all of the same main weapons as the Bengal.
The Bengal is another one of those ships, right? Because I believe the Bengal
by RSI.
Well, I think isn't it another one of the government ones as well?
Yes, but it was actually it's almost entirely made by RSI now.
Okay,
it's made on the huge space docks around Earth. RSI's got like 4 or 5 literal like mini colonies, essentially O'Neill cylinders that are circling in the Lagrange points on Earth that are just like 2 or 3 of them are just shipyards.
RSI is the original manufacturer, is it not, Paul? They are the manufacturer. Yeah. There was a really good question in chat that I just want to grab real quick, Hader. How much do you reckon the Odin will cost by Grab the Gun? There was a kind of bug that happened in the CCUs a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of things happened with the Polaris, and it actually jumped in price to $850. I'm actually expecting that to be the new price of the Odin, that they're going to increase the price of the Polaris so you can't upgrade from the Polaris to the Odin. And so I think that'll be the new price of the Odin is $850, and the Polaris will jump to match it. And I would also suspect, if that's not the case, then the $750 to $850. Hader, but and Paul, would you guys like to answer that? That's just knowledge that I have.
That'd be my guess as well. Anything, because I can't remember what the Hammerhead costs, but it's going to be probably more than the Hammerhead left.
And it's $650, and it's jumped to $750 now, I believe, as well.
Yeah, so
just behind it's $725.
It's at or above the Hammerhead, because it's the same thing. So
Hader, do you want to answer that, or that's all good with you?
Depending on whether or not they go with the broadside idea because I'm still not 100% on that.
I'm not
That-
either. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, if they
I've
go
even
broadside,
I've even heard rumors from people that there could be variants. So we'll see what happens. But that's a rumor at this point.
Oh, sorry. If they go with broadside, it's either going to be, because of that, it's either going to be way more expensive because those guns are bigger for broadside. It's going to be really big. Or it's going to be way less because they realize how fucked the gameplay is going to be for them. or if it's just going to be like a regular hammerhead type thing where there's just a couple of ball turrets on all the ends. It'd probably like around... by fuck off expensive, I mean like $800. So in terms of broadside being really powerful, that's the reason they price it $800. In terms of broadside being really weak, and that's the way they price it, and very specific, $600. In terms of just the middling thing, where it's just a hammerhead clone, $750.
We'll see. If it does have variants, it'll be one of the biggest ships we've seen with variants, but it does have the potential. We'll see what happens. And again, they've done that. Like, we had another president this year for variants where they did the alien ship with variants. So we've had the what I call the Shrek or the Shrike and the Talon. So there is now a possibility. And with the new marketing team that's on board, I think they see that as a way to very easily make multiple ships that appeal to multiple audience members, so to speak, and get more money in. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but that's just something I've noticed. Do you have another question, Hader, or...?
Yeah, okay, so we're going to move on, because that was the final question. You just coincidentally picked up the one I had. We're going to move on to the weekly questions post, number 2, from Patreon. If you're a $10 patron, I'm probably going to lower it to 5 next week, by the way. Not a lot of people are asking questions on here. But if you have... These are questions we're going to answer 100% of the time. I was going to say we answer them first, but honestly, they just work. As long they're just consistent questions. If you want to ask something beforehand to a guest that we have, which we'll probably put in the post, like I mentioned in the post, the guest will be AstroPub, or you just want to mention just a question in general, I'll make a post right either day before, 2 days before, a couple days before. Doesn't matter. Before the next episode, whenever we confirm the guest, is mainly when I'm going to do it. I will just post on Patreon, and you can just ask a question. We have 2 questions this week. First one from AA001. I need to change that to Gangyo. Basically, he asks, any news about the starter refinery ship, which was announced in CitizenCon last year? Will we see it in 3.12 for the refinery deck? I'm not sure myself.
Well, that's kind of what I hinted at, what I was saying, with it coming out at CitizenCon. I think it's a real possibility because refinery decks are just around the corner.
Well, here's the thing. They're not really related, per se. Ship-based refinery and station refinery are 2 completely separate things. Station refinery is being poised as this thing in which it's an extra step to cargo hauling. You bring your cargo to mining.
To mining. Yeah.
You see,
it's mining.
Yeah, for mining. It's an extra step to mining hauling. You bring your unrefined materials there. You wait for it because it costs money. You got like 5 different speeds. It can either be fast. It basically leans to two different bars of extremes. You got how precise it is and how fast it is. You can have a really fast and precise thing, but it costs a lot of money to do that. So unless you have some good shit, it's not really worth it. Then you got slow and like fat. You got the 2 bars. I'm not going to go into all friggin' 10 different variants of it. But
point you're trying to get at, though, I'm trying to understand your difference between why it's so difficult, because I can't see why you can't do that in a ship. It's not really that different. You're just accessing.
You would have to bring the objects over into a different ship.
So you virtually. Sorry.
Object push pull.
Exactly.
That's what that's for.
That's what I was about to get to.
But
so you can just pull it from one ship to the other with object push pull, and then basically you just use a console that's in the ship. It's same as using a console at a refinery deck.
But what mining ship? You would have to. They would have to. Unless they've already developed it,
they've also shown off the player-based inventory systems, so you can actually just have the 2 ships very close to each other and just transfer it from one inventory to the other, like fake it. Like,
It's gonna
it doesn't.
be finicky as hell if they do
It will
like
be
that,
finicky,
but-
but that's the first levels of tier 0 that you see in most games. And
Also, what is that going to be like when it actually happens? Also, from the fact that none of the ship-based refinery stuff is peaked in the files, even though regular station-based refinery stuff it just kind of leans less towards the fact that they're going to push a refinery ship out. Just
I don't think it's going to come out at the same time, but I do believe that. I wouldn't be surprised if the refinery ship is releasing a concept similar to the Talon was, where it's like it'll come out in in quarter 2 of next year when we have player-based refining.
I think
because it's obvious that the refining deck isn't just a waste of time; it's also a step towards refining gameplay, which is the second part of mining gameplay. So it's something that Tony Z has referenced like 4,000 times when talking about Quanta. Like every other thing is about a fucking refinery station. So sorry, execute.
I was just going to say, I'll put it to you this way: do you think the way that what they did with the Shrike and the Talon was in response to things that we've been doing? For example, do you think that that's to try and nip things in the butt? So they're just going to announce them now, and then very shortly later it'll come out, rather doing straight to Flyable, where we can see it before they do, aka the Rock and a few other ships. They're going to announce it and then go, in 3 months' time or next quarter, that's when you're going to get it. Because that just nips it in the butt. They can announce it before we do, so to speak.
Okay, and now let's move on to the.
You don't have any thoughts on that, Hater, at all?
Oh my god, am I muted again?
No,
he's talking.
Oh, okay. So you just no, not really. Let's move on to the final question of the entire episode from Kenny G. Sullivan. So, do you think we could see any pillar tech coming online before 3.12, 3.12.x, including that?
4? No.
The
last 3.12?
Yeah,
definitely. Like at least they seem to be shooting for iCache, like a tier 0 version of iCache.
We're gonna get something big that they haven't announced yet at the end of the year. Whether it be Pyro, whether it be some like other shit, or like something's brewing. It's gonna be pretty sizable, and that's gonna be their excuse for having this year they're gonna pose it as like, here's the big thing. Here's what actually came out of this year. This is what made 2020. This is the thing that was going to define Star Citizen's 2020. That is the goal from like holding something back. Whether or not it's gonna be Pyro or iCache or maybe even server meshing, who knows? It's gonna be something.
Yeah, they
not server meshing.
Not server meshing. Yeah, not server meshing. Yeah, let's nip that.
Yeah, server meshing.
Server meshing. If it's server meshing, it's quotes, massive air quotes,
massive air quotes.
Yeah.
Last we heard on CitizenCon last year, they said server meshing will be at least 12 months, if not longer, and it's definitely going to be the latter. Much longer. All right. Paul, could you let people know where they can find you, where they can join you for a beer and a good time and a question and a yarn?
All right, so I have a couple things. First off, I do live streams from Tuesdays through Fridays. On Tuesdays, I do what I call my office hours, which is kind of like this. It's more like hangout, stream, relax, talk. But we talk mostly about lore. We talk about some Star Citizen stuff as well. And then I do kind of gameplay stuff from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then Saturdays, in the mornings, we do a tabletop RPG game. We just took a break off from this week because a couple members had to take a break. Usually around this time, called The Spice Must Roll, where we do sci-fi tabletops. So that's like Dungeons and Dragons, but sci-fi. So it's right now we're doing a Star Wars themed one called The Wretched Hive. And then on after that, we usually do a podcast called The Captain's Table, where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen mostly. So
are you off to do the Captain's Table now, or are you doing that later today?
Yes, I'll be starting it up, but the Captain's Table starts in about the official setup's time is 3 hours from now.
Yep.
So I'll be hanging out and talking right after this. I'll be hopping just to Star Citizen and hanging out and talking like it would normally from the lead up to Star Citizen to Captain's Table, but it'll just be me hanging out. So
all right, so people go over and hang out there. Captain's Table is a really good way to meet other community content creators. And I'd have to say Paul probably knows more content creators than anyone else I know. So yeah, if you want to meet different people, that's definitely the place to go. Hader, is there anything you want to add before we head off?
Okay, so one thing, because I've been doing it on the on quote unquote private streams, just like the smaller streams I do on Twitch. I'm gonna add it to this one. I'm gonna just raid some random Star Citizen boy. Today, boys, on Twitch, I'm going to It's Space Tomato because he's the first person with a medium view count that I picked.
Space Tomato is actually, I've been following him. I've actually been talking to him about coming on Infrarunner's episode, so that's a good pick. Yeah, he's actually quite good. Yeah, he's a YouTuber as well. His production value is really high, and he knows his stuff. So yeah, so we'll go raid him right now in a minute, and
yeah, we'll just
give him some pickles in chat. Freak him out with the little blue pigs.
We're just going to finish off with the Patreon segment.
Yep. All right, we'll go to that. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. And I'll see you soon for an Infrarunner's episode. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Here's the outro credits. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.